I am a soul blazer. I change lives, I touch people's souls, and I open them up. I teach people how to be present and to be in their authentic soul. Do you guys know what imposters are? These untrained imposters, they reside on the stage of our brain, and they're trying to control us. But usually what happens is they make things worse. But the good news is that we can control them. We could take over and we could teach them to work for us instead of against us. Hi, I'm Lisa Haisha. Welcome to Soulblazing Mentoring. Today, I'm joined by Teri Weinberg, a TEDx speaker, a creative force who helped shape some of television's most iconic shows from Ugly Betty to The Office, The Tudors. And as an executive producer and studio leader, she's been behind stories that changed how we see identity, humor, and history. Now with her company, Yellow Brick Lane, she's channeling the same vision into empowerment, leadership, and mentorship, guiding the next generation of storytellers and leaders. So Teri, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's so good to have you here. You have so much more. Anyone who wants to know more about Teri, Google her. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. She's such a force and such a leader. And we just shared the stage at TEDx in Venice, Pacific Avenue. I'd love to show a clip if you don't mind.
Of course.
So I didn't find my voice, I earned it. And this face, these lines, they're a part of my beauty. They hold experience and mischief, defiance and grace and love. This one right here, it's from staying quiet when I should have spoken up. This one right here, it's from laughing at people who told me I'd never make it in this business.
Oh my God. So great. How many women do that, Teri? Talk to me.
Not very many. Not very many.
Yeah, you peel back the layers of your journey with such honesty and courage. And what was the hardest layer to share publicly, and what surprised you the most about the response?
You know, it wasn't necessarily the hardest layer. I think it was, I've spent the majority of my career behind the camera. And what I love is, supporting and propping others' voices. It's just my natural inclination. And for me to, I was asked to do that TED Talk, I think maybe 3 weeks prior to doing that. And that was just kind of I said yes, and then I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And I just looked inside and said, what's my most authentic self? What can I share? And how can I challenge myself too? And so I thought, some people think I'm a woman of a certain age, which I am. I'm 65. And it was 21 days before I turned 65. And I just wanted women to know that don't allow yourself to be judged by your age or what you look like. Celebrate all that we are and who we are. And so that's where I just kind of landed. And it felt really good.
Yeah, absolutely. I was listening to some audience members, and they were saying that you were so authentic and you weren't all dolled up or anything. You weren't in fancy clothes. You were just there as your authentic self, as if you were meeting someone for lunch or just finished a jog and then, up on stage. And that was so refreshing, and just talking about what each line meant. And, that is so powerful because our faces do tell a story. And I'm so impressed with the star of Baywatch. What's her name?
Oh, Pamela Anderson.
Pamela Anderson. Yeah, you remind me of that, of just like, you know what? I'm sick of putting out all the bells and whistles, and it's just going to be me, and I'm going to celebrate each year instead of freaking out if I'm another year older.
Yeah, I mean, I may be an anomaly. I don't think that I've ever been one to kind of hide behind a mask of makeup and hair. I've just always celebrated. I've always said people they're buying my brain.
Yeah.
And I'm just comfortable in my skin. And I think as we spend more time on the planet, you realize the gift of our health and of our body and all the things that make up who we are.
Yeah, but your life took you on a journey that so many people now are dreaming of, and so many tried and failed, and so many are in the process. And I know you're mentoring now, which is such a beautiful thing. But what do you think was the secret to your success? Why you? What secret sauce did you have? What determination? Were you, super ambitious as a kid, or did you just fall into it a little bit and then get inspired meeting the right people? How did it happen?
I worked my ass off.
Mhm.
I knew that for me, uh, the discipline, the determination, not taking no for an answer. And also, in the beginning of my career, we don't know where we're going to land, right? We can just only do what, either the path takes us or how we take the path. And for me, it was all about discovery and listening and allowing where I started to kind of open up a world to me to say, what do I really want to do in the entertainment industry? Because I didn't really know in the beginning. And it started to become more clear to me that I wanted to be involved in production and the birthing of an idea. And so I did everything that I could to learn that part of the business and find people that I could, that I trusted to pick their brains, to ask all what I thought were the important questions. And then I just went in and did it. I mean, I learned how to produce as a producer. And yes, there were 20-hour days, there were 17-hour days for many and many years, but I loved what I did and I love what I do and I'm passionate about what I do. So it's my life, it's not my job, my work. My work is incredibly fulfilling in that I can help bring other people's stories to life,
Oh,
and see parts of the world that I think people are afraid to talk about sometimes.
oh, absolutely. What was your major?
Interior design and architecture.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I
Yeah,
can
yeah.
actually see how that could help with the film
But
business.
but
So,
honestly, my major is just I was a scrappy kid.
yeah.
A degree did not get me into this industry. Just being tough, having, you have to have thick skin in whatever industry that you're in. And I just went in and I just stayed tough and smart and respectful and incredibly disciplined and surrounded myself by people who were smarter than me and told brilliant stories. And I just had the good fortune of being a part of really beautiful stories and shows that have had an incredible amount of longevity.
Did you ever have a situation that you were asked to compromise yourself at the
Oh,
moment? Yeah.
your podcast isn't long enough.
Okay.
Yes, of course. I think we're tested every day, which is why we have to become really comfortable with the boundaries that we set for ourselves. And in my industry, there are a lot of cooks in the kitchen and everybody has an opinion about everything. And I always go back to the place of honoring the writer's voice, honoring someone's vision, honoring the integrity of what we're trying to do within the show. And then as a person, my North Star is my truth, and I don't compromise. I love to have conversation and work through things. It doesn't mean my opinion is always the right opinion, but I know where I need to land. And that's in my truth or in the truth of someone else whose voice I'm supporting.
Okay, that is so grounded. How I've worked with a lot of people, and my ex-husband was a big, and I saw everything. There's a lot, like you said, it would be 10
Yeah.
episodes. But
Yeah.
when did you get grounded? When you came into this business, you were just a newbie and learning and trying to meet the right people and people you admired and probably respected, and coming up with stories you wanted to share. When did you get grounded, and when did you feel, I'm going to stick to my guns? This is who I want to be and not get detoured down this other lane. Because so many people I know were going down one lane in one direction, and then they got sidetracked and said, why did I do that? I let others
But
redirect.
that's okay. That's okay. That's part of the journey. My career didn't do that. It did that, and that's just part of learning and that's part of discovering. And nothing was perfect for me.
Yeah.
Yes, there were failures. I got fired from jobs, and those are the things that form us as captains in an industry and in leadership, is that you learn from those who you may have worked for, whether you were in a toxic environment, whether you worked for someone who was a mentor who supported you, and then you just learn what you're going to take with you and what you're going to leave behind. And for me, it was never about being disgruntled or litigating my industry. Yeah, it's hard, and people can be not nice, but I chose to be nice. I chose to respect others. I chose to always start from a human place, because we're humans first, right?
Yes.
And so whatever we do, whatever industry we're in or whatever we do in life, it has to start with kindness and with empathy and with understanding that we don't know what other people are going through. So listen and hold space, and then be a problem solver. And my feet are always on the ground. I'm just a grounded, grateful human. And there's really nothing for me to not be grounded about.
Mhm.
I'm blessed. I'm grateful, and I have the good fortune of having a long standing career that I've loved. And so I'm trying to, and I always try to carry that forward, especially when women say, well, I don't know if I belong in that room, or I felt a certain way, or I don't know that I'm ready. Am I allowed to say a 4-letter word?
Yes.
I always say, fuck that. We all belong here. And just put your shoulders back, walk in the room, bring your good and smart and readied energy, and do you and be you, and just go for it. And that's what I did. And certainly there were times where I was, sweat was pouring off my palms, as I was walking in to rooms that were filled with, all men, when I was at NBC,
Yes.
board was all men. And, you have to be ready and poised and smart. Otherwise, people will push you around. And they did, and they tried to, but that's how you keep your feet firmly planted and just staying in your truth. And that's my North Star.
Okay, so on my journey in life, I've gone through, as everyone, all these ups and downs. The thing that has kept me grounded and not quitting and feeling there's a higher purpose for all of us. And if we don't choose our passion and we choose failure or allowing someone else to knock you out of the way because they're a bully, then I've seen 100 times people go through depression, then drugs and this and that, or do
Yeah.
things to compromise to get ahead. But for me, a morning routine has been vital. And I've been doing
Girl.
20 years or so. And without doing it, I am a different person. So please share with me. I know you have to have a morning routine to be who you are today. What do you do? What advice can you give others?
Well, I have the gift of a brilliant sister named Pixie Asia, who I started training with 11 years ago. And during pandemic, she created a community of people where we would be challenged in a 30-day increment of keeping ourselves healthy, whole, and connected, because it was tough. We were alone. We were outside of a comfort zone. We didn't know what our future looked like. We weren't going into the office. We weren't doing the things that kept us in our going to our workout, or we weren't even going to the park to run or any of those things. And she had established this morning routine that I do every day religiously, no matter what time of day it is, no matter where I am in the world. Whether it's 5 minutes of meditation, I wake up, I get right out of bed, I go into the shower, I throw cold water on my body before I get out of the shower. I make myself whatever warm drink I'm having and take all the supplements and things that drive me and keep me healthy every day. And I sit down, I journal in a journal that she had created that's all about just gratitude. It's just, what am I thankful for? What am I grateful for? what do I need to get out of my body today? And what do I need to fuel it with that feels good and positive and strong? And so you're just kind of setting yourself up like I know you do. So you know, okay, these are the things that I wanted, these couple of tasks that I want to make sure that I complete today. But most importantly, I'm one of the lucky ones that got to wake up.
Yeah.
I'm awake, I'm alive, I'm healthy, I'm strong, and I always move my body. This body, I'm like a shark. If you throw me out of the water, I am dead. I'm dead. I need dopamine, So it's moving my body and always starting with a morning routine that just says, okay, I did that. I did it for me, only me, nobody else. And then you can go take care of other people. So if we're not healthy and whole, how can we take care of anybody else?
Yes, every morning I try to do something for my mind, body, heart, and soul. And
You
I
have
think
to.
take care of yourself like that of who am I today? What does my body need? What does my heart need? What does my soul need? It really helps ground you and set your priorities for the day so it doesn't get sidetracked.
Yeah. Yeah. And listen, that doesn't mean that, I'm known to eat sunshine in the morning, but that doesn't mean that I don't wake up some days and say, fuck, I don't want to do anything right now. And I don't let that take over my thinking. It's get into your plan, get into your routine, shift that thinking, and go away from my space because that's not where I want to be today. And so I
Yeah.
think we just have to honor what we're going through, but also honor that we can change the way we treat ourselves during the day and how we make our way through the day.
Yes, absolutely. And no one's perfect. And I think it's brilliant to say, you know what, today I don't feel like doing anything. You still do the basic of your morning ritual. Yeah, I'll do even if it's a minute of yoga. I'll just
That's
stretch.
right.
So I did it today, instead of a 30 minutes or an hour. But as long as you keep honoring yourself, because the biggest problem in life is lying to yourself. Once you stop believing in yourself, when you say, oh, I'm going to do this and this and this, and you don't do it, your brain wires yourself that, oh, that's just a joke. That's really not getting done. And then it gets into a routine of that's who you become. And then that's so
That's
hard
right.
to shift out of it. Yes.
Yeah, and
Go ahead.
it just keeps you out of a downward spiral, right? Because you're accumulating the tools to change the tide, to get you back to where you're productive, back to where you're feeling good about yourself, back to giving yourself that grace of, well, I didn't feel great this morning. I was kind of cranky, or I
Yeah.
was lazy and slow, but now I worked through that because I took the time to be in it, see it, and then work through it.
Yes. That's wonderful. I want to shift this a little bit to your incredible producing and that whole world. You did The Office, Ugly Betty, and The Tudors.
Mhm.
You were part of shaping
Mhm.
those shows. So I
Mhm.
have an interesting question, like for the major fans of those shows.
Yeah.
If if like Michael Scott and
I knew
Henry
you were gonna ask me that. I knew you were.
and Betty all showed up on your yellow brick lane, who would make it to Oz and why?
They all would, because
Ooh, okay.
I've had, like I said, the good fortune of working with some wildly, brilliantly talented people.
Uh-huh.
And when you assemble a crew, there's 200 people
Yeah.
that come together to make a television show, from catering to PAs to the person that you see on your screen. So everybody that brings something to that table. And for me, it's you're creating a family. We're family. Babies are born, divorces, marriages, all the things, deaths, life, all happen while you're, you know, in production, and you're creating these beautiful shows. And so I kind of have a no assholes policy. I don't want to work with anybody who's not grateful, who doesn't love the work, who isn't excited about coming to work every day, even when it's so tough, even when you're tired, even when all of those things. And I just feel really grateful that everyone that I've worked with, I grab and throw down that road with me time and time again.
Oh, that is wonderful to actually stay in touch and still be close to them, because
Yeah.
I know what it's like on a set. It is like a family, and you spend, 6 seasons, 12 seasons, whatever, with the same people every day and creating magic. Really beauty and
Yeah.
magic and transformation, because it wouldn't last that long unless it was the case.
That's right. And we're family for life, and that's the gift of creating a family like that. And right now I'm in the middle of doing a podcast production for Ugly Betty. We're about to have our 20-year anniversary, which is insane to think that our first episode was 20 years ago. But we're doing a sort of walk down that memory lane, rewatch the episodes together. And so I'm getting to go back. I'm watching the episodes again, and two of my cast members, Anna Ortiz and Marco Delicato, are the hosts, and we just talk about the episodes
Oh,
every day. And it's amazing for me to just be a fan and to also think about, wow, we actually talked about immigration. It was a Latin family. There was a Latin girl at the center of a show 20 years ago. The pain of having to, live paycheck to paycheck, and then seeing the other side of the world in Manhattan, this beautiful world of glamour. And so it's cool. And I'm so proud of that, that we were able to make a little dent in the culture and make someone's day better, or someone say, oh, that was me. You were talking about me then. I see me in your shows. And that's, for me, is the gift. You want people to feel like they're represented, and that's what drives me.
oh, absolutely. I think it's essential, especially today, that everyone gets seen and heard. Everyone has a voice, and we highlight what's not right. And I think you're doing that beautifully. And I think that's what
Mhm.
you want to continue doing with Yellow Brick Lane Productions.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Yes.
can't see you doing anything that's just for a paycheck. It has to have truth, love, meaning, and purpose.
Yeah, yeah, it's never been a paycheck for me. I mean, listen, it's nice to get paid for the work that you do, but also it's just, for me, it's just so life fulfilling that I can help some even marginalized voices, or some who might not have the opportunity or the platform to be able to tell that story. And I'm at a place in my career and my life where I can help hold those hands. And that's a really good feeling, whether it's in life, whether it's my friends, whether it's, in business. And I feel really lucky.
Yeah, absolutely. You are lucky. I wanted to ask you one last question, because our time unfortunately is running up. I need to have you on 3 times, 4 times. But you've shifted from producing iconic shows to mentoring future creatives and leaders. What's one piece of wisdom you wish you could hand to every emerging storyteller before they step into their own?
You know, if I drill it all down, it's just really simple. We have one thing in this life, and that's our truth, and it's our authenticity. And we have to trust ourselves, because if we don't believe in ourselves, if we don't trust ourselves, then we lose our center. And I think we have to be willing. If I was talking to my younger self, I don't know that I would change anything, but I wish that I would have just had the confidence to just step forward faster, because I did have the tools, and I did, I was ready, but I let myself, kind of, bob and weave a little bit. So it's just trust who you are, trust your voice, and trust that you have power in it, and that somebody wants to hear from you.
When did you get confidence? How long did it take you once you stepped into the business?
Um, I would say it probably took me a year or so, because I didn't really understand the business. And as I started to understand that, okay, it's not that hard. We're making entertainment. I get to go to work every day. This is Disneyland. And the trick of this industry is act like you know everything and try to make
Yes.
everybody else feel like they're not as smart. And me, I've always thought, I want people to be as smart. I want to surround myself by people who are smarter than me so I can learn, because we all bring something to the table. So I think I learned very early on, because I trust me, and I
Mhm.
trust that I did the work to be ready to speak in those rooms and to produce those shows and to give notes on those scripts or to guide a writer or, be executive producer and be able to handle tough situations, which you do on the daily.
Yes, every day there's something or several things that you got to put out those fires.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
Absolutely.
thank you so much for being with us today. This was so inspiring, and I'm sure everyone got a lot out of it, and we'll post it everywhere so more people could hear your voice and be inspired.
Thank you.
Yeah. Help one person.
I appreciate you, Lisa. I appreciate what you're doing. So smart, so strong. And I'm so happy that I get to be here with you. And now that we've learned we're down the street from each other, this is just the beginning.
I'm going to call you. I'll text you after this. I've got another thing, but I'll text you later after one. All right, honey. Thank you so much for joining. Great sharing the stage with you. Bye. I'm Lisa Haisha, creator of Soul Blazing. I hack how you can change the negative thoughts in your head that hold you back. I call them imposters. I introduce you to them, teach you how to befriend them, and co-create with them, releasing old negative narratives. As a keynote speaker at your next event, I'll help your team turn into master communicators with more camaraderie, which brings more efficiency and growth to your organization. So join me and make shift happen.